Brooke McIntosh, resilience mentor, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and runner. From trauma to triumph, how running across Australia saved my life. Brooke ran 1,600 kilometers across Australia in just 27 days to raise awareness for mental health. Now she's preparing for an even greater challenge, running across the entire continent, averaging 80 Ks per day for 180 days. Brooke's journey with mental health began at 12 years old after facing significant trauma. Instead of letting it define her, she turned her struggles into a mission, advocating for open conversations, particularly in high stress, male dominated FIFO, that's fly in, fly out mining industries. She knows firsthand that breaking the silence can save lives. Brooke's journey from trauma to triumph. Brooke's story isn't just about endurance and running, it's about survival and transformation. After experiencing SA at 12, 14, and 24 years old, that's 3 times, she faced battles with anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. But instead of being consumed by pain, she chose to fight back. A major turning point came in August 2022 when she survived a serious car accident. That wake-up call led her to redefine her purpose, and running became a way to heal, not just herself, but others struggling in silence. Here are the key takeaways. The power of running for mental health. How running provides clarity, relieves stress, and builds resilience. Training and recovery. Strength training, ice baths, visualization, nutrition, all the strategies and tips and tricks that keep her going. Facing fear head on. How surviving a life-threatening accident shaped her mental toughness and her approach to PTSD. Safety while running, specifically women's safety, dealing with harassment on the road and essential strategies for staying safe and alive. The importance of community, why open conversations and seeking support are crucial for mental well-being. Brooke's story is one of grit, purpose, and transformation. Whether you're a runner, someone battling inner struggles, or looking for inspiration, this episode will challenge how you think about resilience, endurance, and mental health. Connect with Brooke on brookemcintosh.com.au. Links are below. Click on the show notes, please. And on Instagram, Brooke McIntosh. Thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator, subject matter expert from HowNotToDieGuy.com. And you're listening to my Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast, sponsored by State, the ultimate daily formula for optimum hormone health, stress management, energy, and performance. 100% natural and clinically proven ingredients. Provides everything you need to raise your game in a convenient gut-friendly capsule. And my new sponsor, Michael Mason of the Mason Survival Protocol. Links for my former shows are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching. And we're live. Welcome to the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. Welcome to my guest this morning. Finally, I got someone on the same time zone, same place as I am here in Perth, Western Australia. Welcome, Brooke. Welcome to the show.
Yes, so happy to be here. West is best, right? That's what they say.
You're talking to a Kiwi, but no, we all end up over here chasing the money and the lifestyle. It's really nice. And gosh, celebrating what you've done and starting here in a few weeks as well. Running, you've got a phenomenal story um, with what you've done with your runs in the past and what you're going to be doing now. I often say I interview the best people in the world at what they do. I'm a bit of a runner. I've run a long way. I've run 50 Ks, run long times, especially from the Special Forces. But you're much better than I am because you've run across Australia, which blew me away. So can you please state, because I don't want to screw things up for people with their bios and things. Can you state what you actually did with this running across Australia thing?
Yeah, so in August 2023, yes, I set the mission to run top of Western Australia all the way back down to bottom of Western Australia and raise awareness of mental health. So I ran 60 kilometers a day for 27 days, covering a distance of 1,600 kilometers. Yeah, that was like step number one of the challenge. And what's to come in 6 short weeks' time is 10x the distance. Very excited for that.
10x.
Yeah, yeah. So I finished at City Beach. We're just talking about that. I finished at City Beach at the Blue Tree there. And when I finished, I crossed the finish line after running the 60 Ks for 27 days. I still had more left in my tank. My body was so conditioned and held up really well with no injuries. No injuries. The fact that the week after I went and ran a marathon because I just had more in the tank. But from that, I was like, why am I stopping here? I want to go more. I want to go bigger and have more conversations, but also challenge myself further. So in 6 weeks, I'm embarking on a journey to be the first and fastest female to run all the way around Australia. So taking it up slight notch with 80 kilometers a day for 180 days, but see what the body's capable of.
That's amazing. And gosh, what a lot to unpack and start. That's right at the start of the show. You said a few things there that really stand out, and I try and delve into those for the listeners. The first thing you said is have conversations. Normally people who run, they're doing it for themselves. It's normally a selfish thing. Let's be real. But you said you want to have conversations. You also mentioned stopping at the Blue Tree here at City Beach in Perth. Now, the Blue Tree over here in Australia, people don't realize that's for suicide awareness, I believe, suicide conversation, and that's phenomenal. You talked about mental health awareness. What what motivated you to look at that as a conversation, as a journey and a direction to go in?
Yeah, so my journey with mental health starts when I was 12 years old. And it all stems from wrong decisions, not having awareness, not having the education around it, and that come into play. So I suffered with anxiety, depression, eating disorders. When I was 12 years old, I was sexually assaulted, and it led to one thing after another. Alcohol abuse, drug abuse, substance abuse, all throughout my teenage years and all throughout my early 20s. And then I went and worked on the FIFO sites. I did FIFO for about 6 years, and depression kicked in deeply again, being alone, isolated. But I also noticed that it wasn't just affecting me, it was affecting a lot of other people on site too. So I started having conversations with the guys, started having a yarn at Smoko before and after work as well, and just started like slowly opening up more. And I noticed that more people were opening up to me, and the more conversations that I was having, the better I felt and the better that they felt after the conversation too. I was like, this is so simple. Let's have a conversation. And then in August 2022, I was hit by a truck going 100 miles an hour. And
Jesus.
yeah, and that was also the week leading up that I had planned to take my own life. So the
Wow.
synchronicity of it all, and literally, I walked out of the car accident within 30 seconds of regaining consciousness. I had no injuries, and I was like, how am I still alive right now? And that's when I was like, what do I want to do? What impact do I want to create? And it was to have more conversations around mental health. And that's where it really started unwinding for me. And that's where I really dived into seeking the support that I needed to then be able to go out and do this. And I was never a runner. I've only entered the running world in the last 2.5 years, which is insane. But because my background is strength training, it's laying the foundations to have stronger bones, to have stronger, like bones, cartilages, and everything in between,
Yeah.
that my body is now able to go the distances. And it's all about like building those foundations. So when I'm running, yes, I'm running, and my training lately has become a bit selfish because I'm going distances that no one wants to come run. But when I'm running out there, I also running is one aspect, but I love having a yarn. I love having a conversation with whoever's running with me, and they look at me and they're like, I can't keep up. I can't talk and run. So
That's
yeah,
great.
it's like,
I talk about enjoying the view as you run. I said I'm a bit of a runner, and what I found was the long distance running was so important to enjoy the view, and you're enjoying the conversation. Yeah, that can also fall under that umbrella. Um, Something we find when we walk, and when I say we, I mean sort of special forces guys, when we get out there and move, the brain somehow, and you probably know some physiology, some fancy words around this, the brain actually has answers come to it, has some kind of portal to actually getting what you need. And those conversations, when you share them, they're phenomenal. You solve all the world's problems when you're out there, don't you?
you do. You should see the notes app and the voice memos in my phone. It's just off. Whenever I'm having a long run, I'm just like voice noting or like writing things down as well that comes to me. And during the training phase to run the first 1,600 kilometers that I did, what I noticed is the more that I got out there, the further that I went through this like dark night, and it was like a mental breakdown. But then within the next 10Ks, I had the biggest mental breakthrough because it was like my mind just put all the pieces together that
Yes.
needed to happen, and it just made perfect sense. But I think when we're walking or running, it is so easy to switch off. It is so easy to get distracted and just to hold the thing in our hands, to put the headphones in and to not actually
Oh gosh.
look within. And that's my biggest thing that I'm just like, people, put the phones down, have a run without your headphones, and
Yep.
notice how much better you feel afterwards.
Yep. I agree. I agree so much. I can't. Well, when I ran, you didn't have smartphones. I still haven't got a smartphone. I've got a. Well, that comes up. That's my actual phone.
I love that. I want to get one of them.
Well, this was released in Australia first off the retro Nokia. Um, it's so important not only for safety but just for your brain space because your brain is phenomenal. And you talked about being injury free, and you felt you could just go again at the end of your run. And the brain, I remember a couple of doctors that would do the New Zealand run from one end of the country to the other, which is kind of like what you do with Western Australia. Uh, your body goes into this sort of superpower mode and super recovery mode. These were high-end doctors, and they were getting injuries that would take 3 or 4 months to recover from in this race they were doing, and they're recovering in 2 days. Your brain, which controls and tells your body what to do and how to perform, can really super compensate. And we found that in the special forces too. But it can come at so much, and I would suggest that dumbing it down with some headphones and a smartphone is not the way to go.
No, and like you said, safety has to be paramount out there as well because you never know what could happen. You never know who's behind you, who's around you, or anything. And when you chuck your headphones in, especially the headphones that they got nowadays, like I've got headphones on now. These are
Yeah,
my work headphones. But when I'm running, if I choose to wear headphones, I wear these other. They're called shocks, but they're for situational awareness.
I know the ones. Are they
And
bone conduction ones?
yeah, those ones. Yeah. So if I choose to have music, then I'll wear them. But otherwise, I just have nothing in my ears because when you pop the headphones in, you literally lose 80% of your situational awareness. And that's huge for safety.
It really is. Well, I'll go back to the stuff you touched on, which is phenomenal. I want to definitely memorialize the reasons why you're doing it. But because we touched on safety, that's actually how I connected with you. I saw an article in the news here about a female runner talking about her experiences with, males catcalling and harassing essentially. And it was interesting that I saw that because I just interviewed Amy Robbins in the United States, who was a marathon runner, a model, a TV show host, and she was out running marathon training, and she had a van pull up to her with 7 males in it, and it wasn't going well. And it went away, and then it came back, and she thought, this is it. It was a bad day out, and somehow she managed to get away. She used her maturity, her situation awareness, all the skills she had. She didn't have anything to draw being in America, and she got away. She was a uh, she did have her firearms license, but as soon as she got back, she went and got her concealed carry permit and actually trained as an instructor. And long story short, she created a clothing brand for women who wanted to carry. And this is in America, obviously. But I thought it's so telling that, a very experienced person in self-defense and situation awareness can still be at a disadvantage with 7 guys. And of course, your article came up and was really well written by the news here, which is rare here in Australia. And you were quite um, uh, correct in what you're saying and as how harassed women get. You're just doing your thing, running along, and you didn't ask for these people to come along. So could you talk to that article and talk to your experiences that made you feel unsafe because you're just doing your thing?
Yeah, it's such a shit and a real shame that it does happen, but it does happen. Um, but it's like we're just out there. We're just doing what we enjoy doing. Running, can we just not be left in peace? Sometimes, yeah, we are, but other times people catcall. I was running along Great Eastern Highway, and then there was these two guys who jumped off the train, and this guy was just staring at me, groping himself
No
licking his
way.
lips, and it just makes me feel so ick and
Mm,
yuck. But I now have the confidence in myself to speak up about it and to call that bullshit behavior out, which exactly what led to that article, because it shouldn't be allowed. People shouldn't feel that that's okay nor acceptable nor the norm. Us as females should have the tools and resources to speak up. Um, my biggest thing is when I'm out on the run, I always have my live location turned on. I always carry my phone. I always carry a device, and I always have it live turned on. And I share that location continuously with my partner and my family anyway. I kind of just haven't turned it off since the last run that I did. But I do that, and I also keep track of everywhere that I'm going. And I it's a shame, but I don't actually fully allow myself to zone into the meditation trance state that I could actually achieve. I don't allow myself to get that, especially when I'm running around cities. When I'm running, I, I never run at nighttime anymore. I just don't do that. Even when I run in the trails, unfortunately, when I got catcalled in the trails, I was like, "Are you serious? I'm in the trails,
mm.
like, and it still happens. I can't even feel 100% safe here." So my big thing is I carry my phone at all times. I have my live location turned on at all times, and I don't wear headphones. If I do, I wear my shocks.
Awesome. Thank you. Every time you've actually answered a question, we've gone down a little angle of the conversation. You've actually answered the pre-answered the question I was going to come up with was tips that you've done, and we're talking about a very experienced runner here for the audience and what you do. I've had the same thing. I finished a 30K run with my partner at the time. Nothing happened, and then just as we're walking to the house for the last warm down, I heard this growl and these footsteps behind me. Turned around, it was a dog coming straight at me.
Mm,
I did what I was trained to do, and we managed to stop the situation. But you can't always fully switch off. And, especially when
mm,
you're fatigued, you got to have a little bit of situation awareness there. I was going to say, you're talking about not feeling safe, but really it's about putting procedures and methods and tools, you've got your tool of your headphones if you use those in place so that you're prepared. One example, I'll never go running in the trails without a, a snake bite kit, as it were. Always carry that. And I've only ever used it for a quick toilet stop, to be fair. I've ripped it apart and used it for that, as happens. But, it's always there. And I went running with a SWAT guy, a TRG guy here in Perth, and a brown snake, a king brown, I think one of the 10th most poisonous snakes in the world, reared up at him. He's never seen a snake in his life running, and he goes running with me with my snake bite kit, and it pops up.
lucky you're prepared. A king brown in Australia. That's kind of like news.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
those are great tips. And you started that answer off, it's not okay. Unfortunately, Brooke, we don't get to pick what the bad guy does or thinks, and they don't think like us. I was a police officer here in Perth. Bad guys and girls, they do bad things, and they are not the same as us. Crackheads, scumbags, that guy groping himself, that's not normal behavior. And unfortunately, us, air quotes, normal people, we tend to judge them on our filter. Bad guys do what they do, so you've got to change your game to be prepared for that, don't you?
Yeah, and never assume. Like, that's my biggest thing is just never assume. Like, tread with caution always, and just never assume that someone's always got good intentions, because unfortunately, you don't know what could be capable of.
Absolutely.
Another one of like my things that I never do is if I'm running a new route, I'll never go by myself the first time. And if when I run the route again, I always know like specific landmarks or specific parts where I could quickly duck or turn around. Yeah,
That's
because you just
clever.
never know.
And also, you're fast. Scumbags. I remember running one guy down where to rest. He lasted 100 meters on the run and he was gassed.
Well, I'm like, if someone tries to outruns me, good luck.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Any other tips? I'm putting you on the spot. Any other things that and I do them too. I normally do those, but other people look at me and go, "Oh my God, how did you think of that?" It's very normal for me to think about things forward. Do you look at other tools you carry, situational, like nighttime versus daytime, morning, what day of the week it is? Saturday morning's probably not the best time compared to a Thursday morning, for instance.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the location that you're running. Like if
Mm,
you're trying to run in the trails, then definitely carry things like snake bite. But also when you're running in the trails, there's a lot of trail that you can't escape of or like you can't duck out of. So you really have to become like, okay, the last point of the road was 500 meters back that way. I think the next point is maybe 3 kilometers that way. So you've got to keep adjusting your footings and your knowledge and your awareness to be like, all right, that was 500 meters back that way. That was 3Ks that way. It's better that way. Um, Even like running on the coast, I personally think it's best, as annoying as it is, it's best to run on the coast during peak season, like during peak hours, which is just like anytime early in the morning or later up, late arvo. But as soon as the sun goes down, I'm out. I'm not running anymore. Like I cut my runs off as soon as it goes dark. Yeah.
I love that. And I think I put a post up, I think it was just the other day about bodyguarding yourself. And it was actually with a female who was a mum with a pram. And I talk about not getting in deeper. A lot of females, they ignore red flags. Oh, there's a weird guy there. That's okay. I'll just keep going deeper and deeper into it. And you've taken that away by by bodyguarding yourself, going, nighttime, that's a hard no for me, because of the possible danger there. It's not being paranoid. It's going, that's a threat I'm going to avoid. And if I was bodyguarding you, I'd advise the same thing. That's
Mm.
really, really clever.
Mm. Yeah, that's yeah. And it's just learning to sometimes love the treadmill. With the training that I do, I have to rack up all the distances. So sometimes if I don't get it all done during light, I'm like, sweet, go on the treadmill, mix it up again.
It is time. I'm going to go back and acknowledge what you said because they were so powerful and you spoke about them so naturally, but they were powerful subject headings. You talked about what you went through and from 12 years old with the horrible situation you went through and then the mistakes you made after that. And hey, we're young, we make mistakes. It's what young people do. Um, Gosh, that would have been hard to deal with. But you talked about the thing that made you feel better was having a conversation. And from what I've learned with PTSD and traumatic situations, talking about it takes it out of that amygdala, out of that trauma part of your brain into it's just another file, another memory in our brain. Let's have a conversation about how you're talking about what you went through and how other people are and the effect that had.
Yeah, so it definitely ties back into safety. So when I was 12 years old, when I was 14, and when I was 24 years old, I experienced sexual assault. So for me, showing up, for me going out and about running, I feel a little bit more fear of what could happen.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
but the way that I've worked through that is to have more conversations and to exactly what you said. I love how you just put it. It's like putting another file in your brain, knowing that that had happened to me, but it doesn't mean it gets to happen to me again. But when we do that and when we talk about it, then we have more control on the actual situation. Because in the moment, we may not have had control on the situation or what had happened. However, when we differentiate the two, we're like, all right, cool, that had happened, but I'm going to disassociate myself with it now because I've healed it, I've felt it, I've moved through it, I've had the conversation. Now, what do I get to do to safeguard, protect myself for next time? What are the lessons that I learned that I can put in place to move forward so it doesn't continuously affect my life? And if we never talk about what we've been through, the feelings that we're feeling, how it's making us feel, how it's making us live our lives, we can never do that. And we can never actually wholeheartedly move forward and change the narrative of our life and do better to become better. So it's like if we keep all of these problems and all of our stories and all of our emotions stored inside, which, sorry, but males are the best at doing, we can never actually move forward and create a better life for ourselves. We can never become happier. We can never slowly rid the PTSD, slowly rid the depression, slowly, yeah, move through it. And I believe that every experience that we have is for a reason, and we can either have that experience and let it hold us back from so much more greatness, or we can have the experience and use that as teachings to help other people on the earth.
You use the word wholeheartedly or the term wholeheartedly
Mm.
there. And as you're answering it, I thought, what does that mean? And what it means is you're actually moving forward, as you said, honestly, without the baggage. That was a word that was around when I'm old now. I'm 51. So maybe in my 30s and 40s, baggage, everybody's got a bit of baggage. That was a throwaway term, but if you in your brain have still got that memory lurking, the black dog as they call it, the what if, you said, if you're still thinking about that's happened to me and you're still living in that place, you're not moving forward into that post-traumatic growth. And and I'm paraphrasing now, controlling the controllables now about living in the now rather than living in the past. Those are important steps to moving through that trauma. I completely agree with you. And males, yep, we're not so good at talking about it. But in the jobs I'm been in, I've been very lucky that the humility is there to be able to talk with another human and actually say, well, I made a mistake there, or you did this, and talking through it. And it helps so much to process it. Again, another ambiguous term, but process it into a memory rather than a trauma.
And it's not to say that that won't ever pop up again. So, a story and example is that when I was involved in that high speed truck accident, for me to then go back and drive a truck, because that was my job, but then to go back and run alongside the trucks as I ran down
Mm,
Western Australia, every single day I had to overcome the PTSD that I had from that truck accident.
mm,
And I had to remind myself, I am safe, I am secure, I'm not in danger, live in the moment, not back in the past. And I had to keep reminding myself, even when I'm driving along now, I see a massive truck next to me and I'm like, it's safe, be in the now, be in the now. It's like sometimes the PTSD might creep up. We can't, I believe that we can't ever 110% alleviate something. It's just
no,
like a scar.
yep.
You've got a deep cut, you can heal it, but you're always going to have that scar there. And sometimes the PTSD or the depression may creep back in, but what are your tools and resources to have and to use when it does, instead of staying back in that old story, the old narrative, the old past? Remind yourself, like, situational awareness again, like, what is around me? I'm here, I'm now, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm present. That's all that matters. Let's keep moving.
And actually, that's a psychologist's tool, isn't it? If I'm assuming you've been through some work with a psychologist somewhere along the line to learn these things. That's actually a tool to be present right now. Look at the light that's coming to me from behind the computer as I talk to you. So you're literally seeing what's there rather than living in the amazing imagination your brain can kick off.
The mind can go wild, the stories we can tell ourselves, and then you're like, hold up, there's nothing there.
And I love the scar analogy. That is a great one. That trauma versus memory analogy or example is one I use often. But I think I'll use that scar analogy as well because, yeah, you wear your scars and your war wounds proudly because you've worked through those. That you earned those, and now you're still here.
Yeah, 100%. We wear our physical. I got a massive scar on my knee. I wear that proudly, and it's like, cool. Let's wear our other scars proudly as well. Talk about it.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess summing that up, um, and I do want to ask you a question about when you're 24, but I'm not sure if it'll be appropriate, so I'll just wait on that one. But just summing up your philosophy around mental health, your experiences, and your conversations, how are you helping people? Because you run a long way, and you're going to run a longer way 2025. But how is that helping other people? What do you do? We tell the listeners what your sort of mission is there and how you're doing it?
Yeah, so throughout the whole run around Australia, it is to have just one more conversation with everyone. But I also help a lot of females build their resilience in a non-toxic way, and helping them overcome their mindset, their limiting beliefs, the stories, and the childhood traumas that they may hold on to. Um, yeah, I do a lot of talks as well around all of this stuff, but my main jam is helping people build more like wholehearted resilience that's not held on with the baggage of I have to do this, I have to be strong, yada yada yada. It's more like you can be strong and you can also cry and feel your emotions and keep moving through them, to not allow your past stories to have effect on you, to have hold on you. You got to keep moving forward, um, to help them rewrite the narrative of it. That's wholeheartedly what I'm passionate about, and is about having the conversations because and raising the funds. So we are raising awareness. But I truly believe is if us as a collective can all come together and have more conversations, it will normalize and it will destigmatize the mental health. and raising the funds with the Blue Tree Project and the mission that they're out there to do, delivering mental health first aid talks and all of that is just incredible. But I wholeheartedly believe that there is no more power that you can have other than community and more conversations. It's stripping it completely back to basics.
I agree. You mentioned resilience there, and I've interviewed Dr. Dan Pronk, who co-authored the Resilience Shield. I'm not sure if you know it, but he was a former Special Forces doctor. He's actually the doctor on SAS Australia, if you've ever seen the show.
Yeah.
And him and his brother and another SASR officer here in Perth, they run the Resilience Shield. And same thing, giving the tools there. We've got a very male dominated direction there, but many organizations would do well to listen to you. And I was thinking, you're a young female speaking to the regiment here would be great as well, because you're getting ahead of it. You're teaching those younger guys that haven't been through it yet some tools they can use in the future. And it's really, really interesting watching how organizations are starting to step into that mental health first aid, that conversation, being proactive about it rather than reactive.
And I believe that resilience comes easier when you know the purpose. When you either know your purpose or you know your team's purpose around it as well. It's just a given that you'll keep going, you'll keep talking, you'll using those tools that you're given to be able to keep going instead of being like, oh, too hard, I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. It is easy to give up, especially if you have been through those traumas. You just want to run away. Let's be real, running away is a lot easier. That's a normal human reaction.
Yeah, 100% fight or flight. I'm like, let's fight.
Well, that's perfect because that gives me my next topic I wrote down, which is drive and motivation. Again, I'm thinking back to Percy Karate. I think I've said his name right. He was a famous Australian running coach just before Arthur Lydia, the better New Zealand one. And he would sort of do the Percy shuffle across Australia. You've had people running across Australia, but what's your drive and motivation? What keeps you going to now do more than you did before?
My purpose. I believe that my purpose is to have just one more conversation so no one experiences the depths of the darkness alone. Uh, Knowing and living how close I was to taking my own life, having planned it that week, having had those thoughts for months on end, it was tiring. It was exhausting keeping it all inside. And that's what led to me being like, this is it. I don't see any way out. And then being given the blessing and the miracle of that second life, of the massive wake up call. I don't want other people being hit by a truck, right? I want to be that wake up call for them. And my wake up call there was I didn't want I didn't want to die. I just wanted the pain and the suffering to end. And it ended when I first acknowledged and I spoke out about it. That's when I finally got a relief. I was like, oh, I can breathe a little bit deeper. And that's what continuously drives me. Like, oh, got goosebumps now. That's what continuously drives me because knowing how close I was to exiting and then being given that blessing, that miracle, and now this second chance, I'm like, let's go, people. Life is beautiful. It's made to be lived. Like, let's get rid of this shit that we have stored inside.
Hmm.
Talk about it, and you'll see just how beautiful the world gets to be.
I'm quite stunned that you can say that, and impressed that you can say that life is beautiful, given the three sexual assaults you've been through. That would wear people down. You talked about finding that pain's released. So were they was if first off, if you're okay to talk about it, um, and if you're not, that's absolutely fine. We move on to a different subject. But if you're okay with that, was that a stranger or someone you already knew?
So when I was a teen, it was someone I knew,
Mm,
and when I was 24, it was someone in my workplace.
yeah.
Two people that I knew of. I didn't have a real close relationship with them, but I still knew of them.
Mm,
And yeah, the workplace one really hit me hard because it was like, I'm at work, I should fucking feel safe. I'm in
yeah,
the gym, I
exactly.
should feel safe to do that, like to do my workout. But to
Mm.
have someone come up to you and touch you up and fill you up inside the gym when I was alone, that was like, what's happening? Like, what the hell? And that was my moment that I was like, if I don't do something about this, I'm gonna live feeling disgusted and just gross within my body. And
Mm.
I deserve to live a better life. And yeah,
If I deserve, if I, yeah, I love your words there. They're phenomenal. So well thought out and well said. Um, what advice would you give to another female that this happens to tomorrow, that this happens to next week? Because you've obviously looked back on it and you moved on, but what advice would you give to someone to be able to win, and I mean win in that situation, or not, going back to the bodyguard in me and the bodyguard in yourself. I saw you took a deep breath there, so I want to say thank
yeah.
you. You're doing great. Doing great. What advice would you give to someone else to win in that situation or not get into it in the first place? Because someone listening to this today, you could save their life tomorrow.
If you feel off, speak up, scream, speak up, whatever that is. Because after the workplace incident had happened, there was four guys who watched on. And they watched on and they come up to me afterwards and they were like, Brooke, are you okay? We've seen all that happen. Um, are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, bro, why the fuck didn't you come over and help me? But I didn't have the confidence in myself to be like, push him off and defend myself. I didn't have that confidence in myself. So if you're a female and you experience it, just literally count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just fucking push them off, scream, get attention, whatever it is. And someone hopefully will help you. But then like go seek the help. Go talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it's not okay. And those guys who come up to me afterwards, they're like, you're not the first this has happened to, but we've watched it. And I'm like, why are you watching it? Like the person who it's happening to is frozen. They're
Yes.
paralyzed. Like that's the state that I was in.
Yes.
Yeah, you didn't think to help. So yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
No, you said the first thing, and I know I put you on the spot, and I really mean thank you for speaking to that. You said the first thing, which was if you feel something's off, kind of paraphrasing there. When I interviewed Tony Blair, who I titled The Grandfather of Self-Defense, he's really good at the science of self-defense. So every person he's ever interviewed that's been through a confrontation, we'll say, it could be from an argument to the worst case, and has lived, male and female, every one of them, but particularly females, they all said something to the something along the lines of something didn't feel right, but I didn't want to say
Mm,
something. Something didn't feel right, but I didn't want to make seem impolite or whatever they say. And again, I said females are so poor at um, getting themselves in deeper past that initial red flag. You said it, Brooke. You said if something feels off, get the hell out. And I
mm-hmm,
cannot emphasize that enough because you're amazing at that. You've got amazing spidey senses. Females are better at intuition, but get the hell away. Bodyguard yourself. As a bodyguard to you, I wouldn't let you go in that situation. I'd be right. We're out of here. Nothing's going to
mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah, and it's like one, us as females, our intuition never lies. Well, even match, your intuition just never lies, but we can tap deeper into it, and I love that. So follow it. But sometimes throughout our whole life, it's like, no, don't listen to that. That's going to be wrong. That's going to be wrong. Or as a female, the stories we get told, be a good girl, sit down, shut up, don't say that, don't hurt them. It's like,
Yes.
if you feel it's off, scream. Because if you don't, or if you don't do something about it, you're disrespecting yourself, your own boundaries, and that's not okay to do, disrespecting yourself. It's like, nah, no one does. You don't do it to yourself. No one does it to you. Get out of there.
You're so right. Again, you touched on some things there. Be a good girl. I see so many parents, they want to get their kids to be polite and talk to strangers. Yeah, maybe, but there's certain things you do. So I teach my boy, you don't tell him where you go to school, you don't tell him where you live, and if you feel off, look at me or mum or whoever he's with, and say it's okay. And I might say to somebody that's asked him where he goes to school, and I might say in front of that person, kind of to that person, oh, we don't talk to strangers. I don't,
Mm,
I'll use your words. I don't give a fuck about the other person thinking I'm impolite. I sure as hell care about my 9-year-old boy, and I sure as hell care about myself in your position, not disrespecting yourself. We shouldn't be put in that situation. So very, very much on the same wavelength there, Brooke. Um,
mm,
thank you so much for speaking to that. I'm sorry you went through that situation. I teach a bodyguarding your child or baby workshop, and there was a woman here in Perth that was assaulted when she was pushing a pram with twins in it. And a scumbag female came up behind her, 17-year-old female, and choked her down, and the pram tipped over. Long story short, she had every right to put her head in the sand and hopefully it would never happen to her. She actually reached out to me, said, "I'm the woman in that photo you're using. Um, would you train me?" And I said to her, "I will train you for the rest of your life for free, anytime, anywhere, because I don't want that to happen to you." And I thought it was so phenomenal that instead of her putting her head in the sand, she's actually gone, "Hey, I actually need some tools to deal with this next time because I didn't have the tools then." And same thing with you. The kudos goes out to you that you're giving those other people the advice. You're controlling the controllables and making sure it doesn't happen to you in the next place. Because those four humans, and they were happen to be male, they didn't do anything. You can't rely on anybody else, and you sure as hell couldn't rely on the police, could you?
No, no. And that's another thing. Like sometimes you want to take it to the police, but then again, it's like, be a good girl, don't get anyone in trouble, do that, don't do that. It's like to take it to the police and get all of the court orders and everything involved. It's like, do you go down that route? Do you not? I did with two because I was so severe.
Yeah.
But it is honestly a head fuck and continuously going, talking to them when people don't actually have the empathy and the compassion that needs to come with it when you're either still in it or you're processing what has happened. That's what I found to be the most hardest.
It is harder. I really love being a police officer. And you just remind me of a time I was in Murray Street Mall. You'd know that, and not many of the listeners would, but there was a place where all the sort of street kids hung out near Central Park or near the Apple store there. And as a police officer, the street kids, you're watching for a bit of trouble. Long story short, a female, I think she was about 16, maybe 15, she came up to me. I must have looked approachable, which I highly doubt I was. But she came up to me and she said, and we're thinking about the context. I've been dealing with male scumbags that they're kids. They're sort of beating their chests against the cops a little bit. And she said, "Oh, listen, can I just talk to you?" And something on her face, "Yeah, come, we'll sit down." And she said she'd been
Mm-hmm.
sexually assaulted. And I gave her that safe space and continued to
I
do
love
that more
that.
and more so she could talk and open up. But that first reaction, imagine if she'd had a standoffish cop, telling her what to do and not letting her open up. Same thing with you. If you're going to go and report that, and the person taking that report had that little bit of abruptness, and it's already taken you all your guts and all your bravery to go and say something, all those days you've gone through, do I do this? That those police officers have to be receptive to the individual situation.
Yeah, I love how you use the word safe space because that's what it is.
Mm,
Like, no judgment, all guards down. You just got to create that safe space for them to feel seen and actually hold the space because it takes so much bravery and so much courage, whether
mm.
it's sexual assault, whether whatever it is, but even just talking about your mental health, it takes so much courage to be able to do that. So, safe spaces is 100% what that is.
It really does. And gosh, you coming back from that truck accident to realizing how precious life is, and as we started this conversation, how good life is, no matter what you've been through, you're creating, you got many more years to go, and you're creating what you want to achieve as well.
I love it. I honestly love life now. Everyone's like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, "I love my life. I live in purpose every day." It's great.
Purpose. Thank you did it again because that was the next part. You used the word purpose about 10 minutes ago. Such a powerful word. I think one of the shows was titled "A Man Without Purpose is Lost." I think it was that, or that was a quote. But the three things, the three-legged stool. And if you think of a three-legged stool, losing one is bad, losing two is super bad, losing one, you're gone, which was your last week. Purpose, identity, and connection seem to be the three. And you could use different words for those, but purpose, identity, and connection. And in my world, leaving a high-end unit, we lose those things badly, and people get very lost mentally and go through a lot of mental health issues. But purpose, you said your purpose is what is driving you. Um, Purpose, identity, connection. You talked about community a while back, getting this community of conversation going as well. Before your truck accident, what was the deal with purpose, identity, connection, and what's the difference now?
The purpose, identity, and connection was all fake. It was all a facade. It was all Brooke
Mm,
McIntosh is the person who she's a party goer. She loves alcohol. She loves drugs. She spends up a lot. She goes on all these lavish holidays. Like she wants to do like she's always the life of the party.
mm,
And it was just a facade. It was honestly just the biggest facade. Um, and it took me until like I slowly planted who I was and I slowly worked out who I was. And the common thing is every single day, every single like week, I was always the healthy girl as well. I always love exercising. I always love weight training. I always love motivating. I always loved helping people. But the bigger picture is that it was a massive facade with the drugs, the alcohol, the partying, the travel, the fake. It was just fake connections as well. It was surface level connections, and it wasn't until the truck accident happened that when I took a look at life, I was like, why am I hanging out with these people? Why am I associating myself with this? Why am I drinking? Why am I taking drugs? What? This isn't me. Like, this is all just to put a facade on what's actually happening internally. This is
mm.
all just to be like, Brooke's okay. It's like, I'm not okay. I hate myself. So when I took a look in the mirror at all of those things, it was just like, that's not who Brooke is. And when I ran this first 1,600 kilometers in 2023, you watch it. I've got this documentary out on the run. It goes for like 25 minutes, but you watch it from day one to day 27. You can literally see Brooke McIntosh rediscovering myself every step of the way and rediscovering my purpose. I mean, my personality and my identity shining through. It was like I started the run on 43 degrees that day with like smashing back Coke cans, like hot, I mean, wet water all over my body, and
Yeah.
just out there with sheer grit, determination, and resilience to just get it done. I lived in a caravan for 27 days, ate so much food, but like whatever food I wanted, but it was just like not fancy or anything. I was waking up every single day, just putting on the Monday and just getting out there and doing it. And I was having so much fun. I was like, it's the simplicity. It's, living on the road. But it was more just about living in purpose. But the 1,600K run is where I rediscovered my identity and who I wanted to be known as, and like do what I wanted to do. And it was, it was literally to do big shit, take no shit, and do the hard stuff.
Oh, you've wow. I'm quite yeah, quite lost for words, really. That was it's
Mm.
amazing, and you're so open with things. That's phenomenal that you can see that, and I think it should be celebrated a lot more than it has been. I'm looking forward to the 2025 version as well.
Because I definitely feel like 2023 version was all about, I loved how you said the three keys there was purpose and identity. I feel
Yeah,
like 2023 was Brooke McIntosh
yeah,
finding her purpose, doing what she
yes,
loves, rediscovering her identity.
yeah,
And now I feel like 2025 version is the connection and is
yes,
more of the community.
yeah.
And oh, goosebumps even just saying that. But that's what I envision the 2025 run being is more connection, more community coming all the way around Australia. Because I know who I am, I know my identity, I know my purpose. Let's get out and do this and have the community.
That's beautiful. I've seen so many people go through this, and some in on the big screen. One guest, Ollie Ollerton from SAS Australia, and one to be guest, Jason Foxy from SAS Australia. Those two people were exactly where you were, exactly like Foxy, literally in his book. So I'm not letting secrets out. Was out on a cliff, ready to end it all. And these guys found their purpose in the show, and then their identity, and then their connection to everything. Ollie now speaks on stages all around the world. Same with Foxy, huge audiences. Um, so it's beautiful to see that you're looking for that connection. Sorry, not looking. You're achieving that connection now, which is really that perfect triad of everything, and becoming a whole person again.
Yeah, and it was like I tried to do the connection bit, but it was just like in 2020, 2029, like 19, but it was just a little bit fake and it just wasn't really me. It wasn't just
Mm,
the deeper connection that I wanted or the wholesome, the wholehearted connection that I wanted. But now that I know who I am, I'm like, cool, if we connect, we connect. I can help you. Let's move forward, have conversations. Like, this is what I'm about. This is who Brooke McIntosh is. If we vibe, we vibe. If we don't, I love you, but see you later.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's got to serve. It's like when you said, why am I hanging out with these people? Why am I giving these people my time? What are they? How's that serving me? And you've got to be very choosy about who you give your time to, I believe as well.
Yeah, and it's like you are the top five people you surround yourself with. So back then, I was surrounding myself with drunks. So I was a drunk. I was the fifth drunk. Now I surround myself with people who are good, like good humans who have
Yeah.
purpose, who want to be better. Yeah.
We've covered what you've done and what you're going to do with the next run. We covered your purpose, which is phenomenal, your drive and motivation, and so much more that I had no idea about. I go in with a start to a guest, and I want to get to know you on the show. Like I hope the guests get to know you as well. It's very real and organic. I'd like to touch on one that stood out for me, which is how the hell do you stay injury free? Because you only ran for a couple of years. Like you said, you're a strength trainer. That's awesome. But this is a lot of toll on your body. So what are you doing to be clever, to be injury free and to keep yourself um, in a health span for going forwards?
Yeah, well, I couldn't do this by myself at all. And it goes again, putting your hand up and asking for help, building connection, building community around you. But I have a whole team from my physio to my chiro to my dietitian to my nutritionist. Tonight, I'm going to get ECG scans on my heart, more blood's done to make sure that everything's good because I'm going out on a massive feat, right? If I
Hmm.
wasn't going to do a big feat, then it would just like purely always come back down to what are you putting inside your body? I
Oh,
put in top quality foods and top quality nutrition, and I supplement adequately for my body. And it's doing the mundane. People in this world don't like to do the mundane, don't like to do the 1% every single day. They're like, that won't add up. The 1% adds up. The small, like the foam rolling, the trigger ball releasing, I don't know, taking a vitamin D tablet, taking a vitamin C tablet, it all adds up. But because it's the mundane, people are like, I want instant gratification, instant fixes right now. You're not going to achieve longevity with instant. It's the simplest, smallest task. So I work with my team quite closely. And I do my ice baths, I do my breath work, I do my grounding, I do my saunas, I do all of that every single day. I visualize. Visualize has just been the biggest thing in my life. And I visualize how I want my life to look and the actions that I've got to take to get there as well. Not only do I visualize, I get out there and do the actions. Because it's like if you sit in this trance meditation going singing hum kumbaya and not actually take the aligned steps, shit ain't going to happen. So I do a lot, but I put that work in at the start of every single morning because I know that that is the foundations that is going to carry me around Australia, that is going to carry this vision. And if you spend time building up your foundations, whatever it is, if you're training for a marathon, if you're training to become an SAS, if you're training to build a business, if you spend time and adequate time building your foundations and be the learner every single day, then the vision is inevitable. What's to come is inevitable. But don't skimp out on the foundations, whatever foundations you need to take, whether it's strength training, whether it's asking a dietitian, whether it's taking a supplement, whether it's breath work, whether it's having a conversation, whether it's getting up at 5 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. Like whatever it is, do it and continuously do it. Like don't try to reinvent the wheel. It's just the mundane.
Well, you use the word mundane a lot, but let's be real. That's just the other word for that is consistency.
Consistency. Yeah.
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 Whatever it is, if it's mundane, it's mundane. There's two things I'd like to touch on there that you said. Um, and listeners, I'm going to ask her about her specific morning routine. So hang on. Visualization. Um, so important. And we all use it in the special forces beforehand. We may or may not have known about it, but we sure as hell do it in it. You visualize for months, you said, before you got hit by that truck, that was your week. You didn't say visualize, but it ran around your head for
Mm-hmm.
months. Look how powerful that was, listeners, to get Brooke to a life-ending decision, which is great that you're out the other side, but so powerful visualization. There's the classic example of, gosh, I'm showing my age now, the basketball experiment where one group of basketballers threw free throw shots for 4 weeks. One group of of basketballers sat in their lounge and visualized throwing free throw shots, and one group didn't do anything. And the ones that visualized it didn't do any free throws. They were the same as the ones who practiced. So
Mhm.
phenomenal thing. Visualization, so powerful, and you've now turned it around for what you want to happen, for what you're
Yeah.
creating, what you're manifesting in your life. So I think that's not something at all to just gloss over. That visualization is the most important thing because it's your driving force, isn't it?
It 100% is like every single, before I go to bed at night, I visualize my next day. Okay, how do I want to feel when I wake up? I want to feel this. I'm going to get up on my second alarm. I give myself two alarms. I'm going
Good.
to get up on my second alarm. I'm going to go get my coffee. This is how my day is going to work. Yep, it's going to be great. If things slip up, that's okay. Out of my control. But I already, like a year ago, I started visualizing my run around Australia. I've already visualized me crossing the finish line. And I do that every single day. I visualize me out on the road about to run around Australia. Okay, it's going to be in the middle of the outback. Ro and my support crew is going to be there. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. But I also visualize all the good, but I also visualize some of the hiccups too. If this
Yeah.
happens, how can I combat that? And I pre-plan, like pre-prep myself if that happens too.
You have to. That's so I interviewed Sir Steve Hansen, sorry, the coach of the New Zealand All Blacks, and that's what they do. They've planned for. I've had two men sent off, two men out of 15. That's like a game changer. You're supposed to lose. They've practiced and planned for that horrible situation. They planned for the captain being sent off. They planned for their kicker being sent off, and so on. So you're and we do the same thing. We rehearse and rehearse and rehearse in the special forces of okay, that's perfect. Now this has gone wrong. This guy's gone down. Your helicopter's crashed going to get Bin Laden. That happened. Worst case scenarios, because if it can go wrong, it will go wrong, and you're in the middle of the outback, and your shoe falls off, for instance.
Yeah. You've got to plan for everything and have those contingency plans in place.
Yeah, you're remiss if you don't. Now, morning routine. You said some amazing things, and as a podcast listener, as I used to be, I'm now lucky enough to actually get to speak to the person uh, first up. I'd love to know your morning routine. I interviewed Rebecca Rouse, phenomenal Olympic lifter now, but she started as nothing, and now she's gone on with that regularity, that consistency, and she had a great morning routine. Would you please share your morning routine with the listeners?
Yeah, sure. So as soon as the alarm goes off, first alarm is kind of just like a diddle dally. The second alarm, I'm just like, all right, time to get on with the day. But I connect with myself. I ask myself how I'm feeling, what do I want to do, how I'm feeling, how I woke up today, and how I slept the night before. I
Okay.
always connect to myself. It's like a 30-second exercise, but I connect with myself and then I get out and I make mine and my partner's morning greens drink and I make us our coffee.
Stop
And
it. Stop it. I do exactly that. I make me and my boy our greens drink. He doesn't like it much, but that's the first thing that's going in.
still drinks it. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely get your greens in at the start of their day. But I do that, and then me and my partner we sit down and have our morning coffee for half an hour because that is our time together. That's our time to build connection and just to talk about whatever we want to talk about. And then after that is done, my day starts. I
Hmm.
have my banana, I have my banana, I have my egg, and my first training starts for the day.
Hmm.
But before I even start the day, it's always connection to self first, because you are your most important person. Without you, there's nothing else.
Hmm.
And that check in only takes 30 seconds. And then it's with my partner. And then it's like, all right, food, train, ice bath. Always start on an ice bath because ice bath is so challenging. But yeah, if you can do one challenge in the early mornings of the day, whatever life throws at you throughout the day, you are able to handle it better. Your brain is just like, cool, I've already done one challenging thing. This is just another, whatever. And you're able to like move through the day with more ease, knowing that you've combated one challenge at the very start of the day. Ice baths are horrendous. I don't like taking them, but I still force myself to.
That's awesome. It's funny you said that. I don't know if you did you listen to the Navy SEAL commander do a speech about making your bed?
I make my bed. That's just a given, just a religious.
But that's a
But
challenge.
yes, yes, it is a challenge. Yeah.
Start the day with a challenge. Start the day with a win on that. Hey, I won at making my bed. Hey, I won at getting into the ice bath. It was just hard enough to get in, and then I handled
Mm.
this amount of time. So amazing this synergy from, and I mean this in all respect, from a young lady versus all the people I've interviewed and know that have got that wisdom as well. And you're coming to the same conclusion, the same direction, but from a different modality of learning.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. When I see that speech on Make Your Bed, I was like, that just clicks so much. And I kept sharing it with my partner, and he's so bad at making the bed. And I'm like, bro, we got to make the bed because we make the bed, we win the day. That's it. I don't care if nothing else gets done, but at least you get into a made bed at night and you can sleep peacefully knowing you made your bed.
Exactly. Gosh, awesome. Well, that's a great morning routine. Really clever. Ice bath is pretty good over here in Perth. I think it's like we're not going to have a day under 38 degrees Celsius for the next 5 days here.
Oh my God. I walked out of the gym this morning and it was like 8 o'clock and it was 33 degrees. I'm like, what the is going on?
I filmed the How Not to Die story time out of my little garage gym, and my phone overheats. I do have a phone, not this one. It's not even connected to a phone. It's just used for filming, so it's a camera. But it overheats in about 5 minutes. It's so hot. It's crazy having to deal with it, and you're running in this heat. So I guess to finish off, how do you handle such temperature, such environmental concerns, and not fall over? I mean, you did it all the way from the top of Australia down to the bottom here. How do you handle that?
Yeah, well, a lot of people have told me get up early, beat the heat, but I can't get up early. I can't get up at 4 a.m., can't get up at 3 a.m. Like, I'm just not wired to do that.
Yeah,
If I sleep until 6 or if I sleep until 5, I'm good to go. I
yeah,
can handle the heat. But if I try get up earlier and beat the heat, I just conk out. I go way slower and I just conk out in the middle of the day. So I don't get up early to beat the heat. I get up at my usual time, but I supplement and I eat and I hydrate adequately. Like I'm always downing Powerades. I'm always downing Sustagen and taking what's it called, electrolytes.
yeah,
But I eat so much when I run. So the other last week on Tuesday when I did 80 kilometers, it was 34 degrees.
yeah.
I ate while running. I ate 5 sandwiches, a chicken and salad sandwich. I had 4 Powerades, electrolytes, a Sprite, and I'm just continuously eating and putting all of what I'm burning back into my body to sustain it. And to me, sleep is my number one priority as well.
Sleep. There's
Yeah.
a New Zealand gold medalist kayaker, female Maori girl. Just saw her pop up the other day. Her consistency on sleep is it's not the correct term, but OCD, because sleep, as Dr. Kirk Parsley, a friend of mine, says, is the only time when you recover. Sleep is when you repair and grow for the night, for the day before when you sleep. And if you can get that sleep right, that's phenomenal. But nutrition, I remember
Mm-hmm.
reading about Dean Canazzi's ultra marathon runner. He would literally order up a pizza from Pizza Hut, have the delivery guy meet him at a corner, 10 Ks away, and he just roll out the pizza and start chomping that on his run. So food and nutrition is super important.
Yeah. And in the middle of my runs, when I have to hit 80 kilometers in my training, and this is what I'm going to do when I run around Australia as well. I've got 2 massive weeks coming up with 4 80-kilometer runs around Perth.
Mhm.
So what I do is I play the mind hack in the morning. I run 52 kilometers because then I know that it's way over halfway and
Yes.
I only have to get out there and finish off the 28. So I run 52 kilometers for my first training session.
Yeah.
And then I come home, jump in the ice bath, put my recovery boots on, put binaural beats on, and have a 45-minute power nap. I eat a massive amounts of food and then I get back out there again for the 28 minutes. And when I get back out there, I'm like, good to go, brand new. My legs feel brand new because I've had that 45-minute power nap. And if I just do the ice bath and the recovery boots and I don't have a power nap, I notice it. It's
Yeah.
insane. I'm like, sleep is so important, guys.
Sleep. I love it. You should look, I should connect you and Kirk actually. He was a former Navy SEAL, high school dropout. His high school teacher said to him, you're going to amount to nothing. You'll be useless. He went to the Navy, became a SEAL, so that's not useless. Left the SEALs, became a doctor, went back into the military, became the head of it's called war combat, high-end doctor, and he's now one of the top doctors in the world at that side of things. But he's a sleep specialist. The guys had tanked hormones. They were on sleeping drugs and antidepressants, and he fixed their hormones. Sometimes he would quintuple their testosterone just by fixing their sleep.
Yeah, right. That's crazy. I love hearing stories when teachers are like, you're such a high school dropout, yada, yada. I'm like, okay,
Oh
just
gosh, you
not for
hear
me. Let's go.
I've harped on a lot about special forces. And I don't really mean to. I don't normally do it on the show, but um, so many people in that realm have gone on to become PhDs, to become they can do anything. They're taught like you were. You know, you haven't been a runner for more than 3 years, I think you said. You can do anything. You can achieve anything. Your life is what you make it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, quickly, Brooke, you touched on binaural beats. You're throwing some more things in there that I know a little bit about. Binaural beats recovery. What are you doing there? Why are you doing it? And what are you using?
So I don't know the extensive background research on it, but I just know it works. So when
Awesome.
I was training for no, when I was on the run on a 1600 kilometer run, day one, it took me 10 hours to run 60 Ks and it was 44-degree heat. And that's because I tried to run the whole 60 Ks. And it wasn't until day 5 of the run, after people had been telling me, wake up early, beat the heat, that I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop listening to everyone. I'm going to do what I think I should do. And I did that. So I slept in until 7:30. I had a solid night's sleep, got out on the run, ran 40 Ks, jumped in the car, put the boots on, and I was like, I'm going to put the binaural beats in because I heard that they're really good to help you get into that delta sleep wave faster.
Yes, yes.
So I did that. And then I woke up and I looked at Rowan, my support crew, and I was like, bro, have I been asleep for 3 hours? And he's like, nah, 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, let's go. So it just helps me block out the noise and get into a delta sleep wave mode. And that's where your body recovers the faster instead of staying in low sleep. I'm probably butchering the terminology of it,
So
but
do I.
instead of staying in the weak sleep states, it just gets you in a deeper REM delta wave state. Yeah.
I love that. I do it the same way. I mean, I'm just an operator and a fireman now. I say the first two stages of sleep are where you're lying in bed thinking about sleep, then you're twitching, and the last two stages, whatever the hell they're called, that's when you grow and recover and repair. That's sleep. This isn't sleep up here. So, you're saying you're slamming yourself down into this growth and repair and recovery. Is there a certain kind of binaural beats you use, or is there an app or anything?
I just go on Spotify, to be honest. I go on
I love it.
Spotify and I'm just like binaural beats alpha wave state. And it just goes into deep, like there's so many different albums. There's like one for focus, anxiety, deep sleep. And I always listen to the deep sleep one. But
Yep.
even when I'm working, I put these headphones on and I pop the focus one in and it just helps me focus so much more. So like people are like, what do you listen to? And I'm like, binaural beats.
It's
I
funny
don't
how
have
things are.
cool like DJ playlists.
Exactly. You said you went on Spotify, 6 years ago when they first came out on Ben Greenfield's podcast, who was a real big deal back then, an Iron Man and so on. There's only one company in the world that did binaural beats, and now you just go on Spotify and get what you need, or green sounds and all those things for your sleep. So technology is phenomenal, and I suggest use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brooke, what an amazing conversation, really. I'm stunned at what you've been through, and I really, again, want to acknowledge your bravery in answering some of my questions there. Thank you so much for speaking about your experiences, and I hope that someone else listening to that is better off for what you have experienced and spoken about as well. I love what you're doing. It's been great to have you on the show. What Where's the best place for people to find out about you, to contribute, to have a conversation with you, as you say?
The best place is always my Instagram. Yeah, my Instagram is Brooke McIntosh, double underscore. But I post a lot on there around how to have a conversation around resilience, mindset, but also the whole training for the Australia run is going to be all on there as well. And that's where I mostly hang out is Instagram. And come run with me. If you're in Perth, come run.
I love that. Try and keep up. We do narrated show notes right at the start, so all the show links are there. So that's great. So you've got your Instagram page, and your website's really nice, really well laid out, and really easy to navigate through, even for someone like me that's as old as I am. Um, it's been amazing having you on the show. Really, really has. I'm looking forward to watching your journey, and also, and I said this to another person. I'd love to be able to show you some of the tools that I have learned to keep you safe as well. So maybe we can get connected and go through those before you head out on your run.
Yeah, I'd love that. That sounds awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a really big conversation, but I'm so grateful to be able to have this conversation with someone like yourself who can hold that space to be able to open up. So thank you for being you and doing what you do.
Oh, it's amazing. Congratulations on what you've done. You know, if it was just from the truck accident to being not doing what you intended doing a week later, that's a congratulations just by itself, but really great to share your success with everybody. So brilliant.
Hi, thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator and former Australian police officer, and your podcast host. Please check out my new project at hownottodieguy.com, where I teach everything you need to know to both males and females, at-risk populations, schools, kids, and the elderly for self-defense, situational awareness, and all-round skills that every good person should know. Thanks for watching.